Okay, so I'm learning how to do this. Apparently, I hit the maximum recording time. So I had to trust with Griffin. And when I see that, I see this. I had to trust. I couldn't see, but I had to trust. And this leads to the visionary. And I think about the times when I've acted more like an acrobat, where I've just kind of been like, it's fine, everything's fine. That has historically led me to more of these moments. Okay. So finally, the last card that I wanted to pull was the final loss to grieve, kind of to help complete this cycle. And what I saw was the Three of Scrolls with a fox crying. So this card has a few different personal meanings for me. I have a friend who recently left his job, and what's interesting is I remember this card came up, and it was a symbol. This was a long time ago, and he's an Aries, so he's gonna love that I'm saying this. So this card came up, and I said, "There's a fox crying," and I take this to be a symbol of you kind of moving on to some sort of different profession. I didn't have a whole lot of information about it. I think it's really interesting. It's also a Three of Scrolls, and it relates back to this and this. And so the final loss we have to grieve is kind of this, what this says to me is like, what have we built our identity on? What have we kind of staked our career in? Or like, what sort of relationship have we gone all in on? And we said, yeah, we want this to work. And then it just doesn't work out at all how we wanted and planned. For me, that's some of my losses, some of my miscarriages. It's also relationships with certain family members, and certain friends too, and my health. So I guess I'd say, since there's three scrolls, I'd say there's three big losses for me. For me personally, and I think that this would relate to a lot of people too. It's kind of the loss of my health, the loss of career, and the loss of how I thought my family would look. So this is kind of the final loss to grieve. But the good thing is, most of us have the ability to express ourselves. Whether or not we can afford therapy to express ourselves, we can also, most of us are, if you're watching this, my guess is like you've probably gone through some schooling and you're able to read and write, which is like really big. Like I had a few grandparents who only had 8th grade education, so I know like education's a really important thing. But if you have the ability to read and write, especially to just write or to talk or to express yourself in any way, then do it. Get those words out. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up here because this was just like, this is me being vulnerable. This is how my psychic readings go. They're just kind of like these long rambles and everything, just kind of blah, 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 blah. And then I just hope and pray that it all comes together in the end and that it makes sense for people. So when we got home this evening after witnessing the car accident, I started thinking about, well, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, is like, how does trauma stay inside the body? And how do we release that trauma? And I know, like, for animals, like a fox in the wild, they would shake. Animals, like, shake off their trauma. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, an animal get in the fight and then, like, their coat just kind of, like, vibrates and they shake off the trauma. That's something animals do. That's something that humans don't really do. Excuse me, Laura Ocampo. Thank you for teaching me that. So I decided, like, excuse me, I'm having kind of like an FMF flare right now too. familial Mediterranean fever, for anybody who's wondering. So I decided, you know what, I want to teach the kids how to just shake it off. How do we shake off trauma? And so we had a little dance party. And I called out to Alexa, and I had her play some Taylor Swift Shake It Off, and we danced to Shake It Off. And like Griffin was just like, Griffin loves to groove. He's like, ah. And Layla had some great dance moves, and so we were just shake it off, shake it off. Oh, I don't own the rights to those lyrics. And then Layla requested Party in the USA, and so we did some Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. And I did some NSYNC Bye Bye Bye. And gosh, we had so much fun dancing it off. So I guess to wrap it up it's St. Patrick's Day. Maybe take some time tonight or tomorrow or sometime this week to think about what you're grateful for and what you're thankful for, what you feel so like lucky to have in your life. That could be a person. Maybe it's an animal. During the accident when we saw the driver who blew through the red light, he had a dog in his car. And thankfully his dog was in his kennel, and but he ran the red light. So or not red light, he ran the stop sign. I guess I need to shake it off a little bit more. Maybe it still was a little bit more dramatic. I'm gonna go. I guess the moral of the story here is that we all have losses, we all have trauma, we have all lived through an unimaginable past 2 years. I mean, for me, I kind of wonder if that's not part of it, was like all of these huge fears that I had. Fears that I had prior to 2020 ended up becoming true. The only thing that didn't come true, which like it didn't come true for me, were these identical twin boys that I had been picking up on in my Spirit Babies work. But the good news is my really close friend's little sister is going to be giving birth to identical twin boys soon. And so, it just kind of feels like as 2020 and all of that chaos that's happened in the last 2 years starts to come to a close, we're kind of all being presented with this, like, do we want to grieve and and set some like clear boundaries in our present moment so that we can move forward and be that visionary and being a good thing? Or do we want to deny the losses and deny the problems that we've had and just kind of be the acrobat and saying everything's fine, ha 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 ha, everything's fine? Which if we want to stay stuck in denial, both with like collective denial over climate change and burnout within the healthcare system and burnout within the education system and fair wages and healthcare, and there's just so much. Do we want to stay in denial and that will lead to a huge Kali moment? Or do we want to be visionaries, and do we want to make changes before we're forced into making them? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose to listen and make those changes going forward. I hope that you will join me and be like the Ace of Stones. Let's find that. And be like the Ace of Stones and make those changes with me. So we can become a visionary. And we're going to work through these losses, these unimaginable losses, by setting firm boundaries for ourselves. Ace is a number 1. which will lead to becoming a visionary. And then we can finally grieve the last 3 things we need to grieve. Thank you. Good night.